Well, 4 Ukrainian soldiers and 1 separatist rebel have been killed in renewed fighting in the east of Ukraine. The Ukrainian army says 5 other soldiers were injured by shelling in the town of Avdiivka. It was the bloodiest fighting since a truce was announced in December of 2015. Nearly 10,000 people have been killed since the conflict broke out nearly 3 years ago. Well, we're joined now by Alexander Ug in Kiev. He is the principal deputy chief monitor for the OSCE's mission to Ukraine. Alexander, thanks for joining us. 5 casualties now in Avdiivka. Help us understand where this latest escalation in violence is actually coming from.
Thank you. The OSCE Special Monitoring Mission has indeed registered an increase in violence in that specific town, which is a town situated to the north of Donetsk. And Donetsk is a non-government held city at the moment, and the contact line is very close by these towns. And at the contact line, the positions of the sides are as close as 10, 20 meters, which leads to constant tension and often translates into long-lasting battles. And one we see now lasting from the early hours of Sunday till now as I speak to you here.
Does this indicate that the Minsk Agreement, though, is actually in danger now?
Well, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission on a daily basis registered hundreds, if not thousands, of ceasefire violations. The latest incident in Avdiivka is a peak in that registration. However, we had not had a day without ceasefire violations. In the course of last year, for instance, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission registered over 330,000 ceasefire violations, and this is probably just the tip of the iceberg of the entire reality at that almost 500-kilometer long contact line separating government and non-government controlled areas.
So, Alexander, how concerned are you with the latest escalation?
We are very much concerned and have always been from one main point mainly, which is the situation of the civilians in these areas. I've mentioned the fighting that now takes place and that you refer to is nearby or within built-up areas, a major populated area. The fighting involves the usage of heavy weapons that should have long been withdrawn under the Minsk Agreements. This will affect the civilians, their infrastructure, vital, critical infrastructure installations are in the midst of that fighting theater. It will affect the population there. This has to stop, and the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission will continue to document the situation there on the ground, and hopes, of course, that those who have signed up to the agreements will take note of it and undertake measures to stop the fighting now, in particular for the civilians that live there in this area.
So are you still safely able to carry out your work, and is there any end in sight really for this conflict?
The OSCE Special Monitoring Mission has at the moment some 600 monitors in the eastern part of the country on both sides of the contact line. We have a rather large team in Donetsk city, in that non-government held area, just across that town where the fighting takes place. And we have also technology placed in Avdiivka itself and opposite the non-government held Oktyabr mine, that's a district to the west of Donetsk city. We are monitoring there through this technology and our patrols on the ground around the clock. It isn't easy. We are often hindered in our work too. The sites restrict access to these areas, and we will continue to document as much as we can. It is up to those who have signed, however, to bring this to an end and to do what they have agreed to do in the various documents signed in Minsk.
Okay, Alexander, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us from Kiev.